conspiracy of the fallen. The night hung heavy over the city, thick as velvet, each street lamp casting pools of gold that trembled across slick cobblestones. Rain fell in a steady, rhythmic drum, the sound a heartbeat that seemed to measure time itself. Alarone's wings were tucked tightly, their faint luminescence barely visible beneath his cloak, and every movement drew droplets that glimmered like liquid starlight. Nerys walked beside him, her human guise immaculate, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed the predator within. Even in silence, the city hummed with hidden life, and they felt its pulse sync with their own. The alleys whispered secrets, graffiti that shifted subtly when unobserved, shadows that moved against their logic. Beasts lurked in these streets, human in appearance but flickering in essence, their eyes reflecting hunger, fear, and cunning. Alarone's gaze swept over them, noting their hesitation and fleeting recognition of his angelic presence. He had hunted these creatures for centuries. But now, walking beside one of them, he understood the fragility and complexity that had always eluded him. They had tracked the conspiracy to a forgotten district of the city, where broken windows and decaying masonry hid a theater that had long stopped hosting audiences. Inside, dust motes danced in a single shaft of moonlight, and the scent of old wood and faded incense lingered. On the stage, blood-stained symbols etched into the floor told of ceremonies performed in secret, of judgments passed in shadows. Nerys crouched beside one marking, tracing its lines with a clawed fingertip. "They've been rewriting history," she whispered, "turning beasts into monsters, humans into victims, and angels into tyrants." Alarone's heart thumped in response, a rhythm both human and divine. He had been trained to obey, to follow orders without question, yet every revelation twisted the rules he had held sacred. The angelic code, once a comfort, now felt like shackles. He glanced at Nerys, her face illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the cracks, and saw not a beast, but a being of resolve and understanding. Her courage was a flame, quiet yet relentless, cutting through the oppressive gloom of centuries-old lies. The theater floor trembled as they moved deeper, and echoes of past battles whispered from the rafters, spectral forms of past victims, beasts who had been wronged. Humans caught in divine crossfire flickered briefly before vanishing, as though testing the courage of those who sought truth. Alarone felt a chill snake up his spine, not from fear but from the weight of memory. This was no longer just a hunt. It was an awakening. When the conspirators emerged, the air became electric with tension. Angels whose once pure wings were marred with streaks of black and crimson glared at them, their eyes cold, sharp, assessing the threat. "You should not be here," one intoned, voice like fractured glass. But Alaron did not step back. He and Nerys moved in unison, their steps echoing like a heartbeat, human and beast entwined in purpose. The battle that followed was a symphony of motion and emotion. Rain from above slicked the wooden beams, turning them into treacherous blades in motion. Nerys's wings unfurled, silver tips slicing the darkness, while Alarone's sword caught faint starlight, arcs of luminescence flashing with each strike. The air vibrated with the clash of ideology as much as steel, the struggle of obedience against justice, of fear against courage. Every movement carried metaphorical weight, a dance between predator and savior, past sins and present redemption. At the climax, when one conspirator lunged to strike Nerys, Alarone intercepted, a wall of divine force emanating from him. In that instant, the city seemed to inhale, the rain pausing, the wind holding its breath, and then, in a single, shattering crescendo, the conspirators were cast down, their wings crumbling to dust, their authority evaporating into the storm. The silence afterward was not empty. The city exhaled, the street lamps flickering as though relieved, and the puddles reflected stars, now untainted by human deception. Alarone and Neres stood amid the wreckage, soaked and weary, yet unbroken. The night embraced them like an old, patient friend, and they knew the balance of the city was fragile but recoverable. They had bent the darkness, not destroyed it, learning that light was not absence of shadow, but the choice to move through it together. As dawn neared, Neres folded her wings, and Alarone's luminescence dimmed to a soft glow. Together, they walked toward the first streaks of morning, feeling the city's pulse beneath their feet, and somewhere in the twisting streets behind them, shadows lingered, waiting, not with malice, but with the quiet hope that perhaps, for once, they too could learn the meaning of trust and courage. The cycle of night and day would continue, angels and beasts would still walk among humans, but a new understanding threaded through their steps, and in that understanding, the city found a fragile, luminous heartbeat, echoing the harmony of two souls who had chosen to confront darkness side by side.